All right, good morning, everybody. Can you guys hear me okay? Happy Monday. Got it. Thank you, Jenna. All right, let's dive in. Before we get rolling right into numbers, first of all, happy Monday morning. Let's talk about something good. Who wants to share something good that happened over the weekend?
Another Ravens win.
Another Ravens win. Nathan, yes.
I got something good on the real estate side. Had some YouTube clients come up on Thursday night, met them Friday, went under contract on Saturday.
Awesome.
So that was nice.
Yeah, so I love that, Dave. You know, the fact that you're out there, you're doing the videos, and that's how somebody found you, connected, became a client relationship, and now they're under contract. Love it. Great job. Who else? One more. Something good over the weekend.
I got a new construction under contract, and this was, believe it or not, from a rental lead. I don't do a lot of rentals, but took a chance on something this summer. They didn't even buy the rental that I showed them, but I kept in touch with them. Their rental is actually not even up until August of next year, and we went into contract for new construction. So just proves follow-up game is still there.
Follow up, follow up, follow up. That's where the fortune is, right? Love it. All right, gang, thank you for sharing that. So speaking of sharing, I'm gonna go into screen share here for a moment. It's share here. There we go. Can you guys see this on your screen? It is the Charlotte Region Monthly Indicators Report. You guys see it okay?
Yes.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, thank you. Because now that I'm sharing the screen, I can't see all of you guys. All right, so this is what's known as fast stats. And a lot of you know when we're talking about numbers, a lot of you know what fast stats are. I've heard you use the phrase fast stats before. So I thought, you know what? Let's pull up fast stats and have a conversation around that, around this resource today. So how do we get to fast stats? Well, when you're in Matrix, basically you're going to go over to you got to get to the resources page. You go to the far right at the top where it says more, and then the pull down tab, you go to resources, and resources are down there. It just simply says, not on the left side, fast stats. Once you're in there, you've got a lot of different kind of things that you can pull up. What I wanted to pull up today is I wanted Charlotte Region most recent. That was it. Didn't ask for anything else. There's not really anything else, at least in that category I was looking for. There's nothing else for me to ask for. And so the most recent one is going to be September. It should be any time now. They'll come out with the data through the end of October, most likely over the next couple of days. But for the purposes of this call, September was the most recent. So as always, what do we get? Well, we get a lot of different stuff in here that we can go in and look at. And it starts off by giving us kind of an overview of what metrics are they going to talk about. A lot of these we do talk about pretty consistently on these calls. New listings, pending sales, close, list to close, days on market, cumulative days, list price, average list, average sale price, median sale price, and it keeps going down the list. So as always, here's what I want to do, because this, like anything, gives us maybe a little bit different view on something that we've talked about in the past, or it could give us a different view based on even a conversation we may have had recently with somebody who's considering doing something in real estate. And we may find that there's something in this fast stat, 15-page report. There could be one or two things in here that we could potentially share with somebody based on a conversation we have recently had. Let's kind of look at this. New listings. New listings year to date, two categories appear to be September, for the month of September. And what it's going to do is going to compare September of this year to September of last year to September of 23. And then year to date numbers through September of this year. Same period for 24, same period for 23. So what are we seeing here? Well, from 23 to 24, we had an increase of 8.8% in the amount of listings hitting the market in September. And this September compared to last September, we've had an increase of 5%. There were 4,993 new listings that hit the market in the month of September in the Charlotte area. Now, for the purposes of this, I did not go back and research to say for this report what includes the Charlotte area. I'm guessing probably at least 8 to 10 counties area normally is what they do. So if you think about it, in our Charlotte region, our Charlotte area, almost 5,000 new listings hit the market in September. Year to date, we are up, it's a little over 47,000 listings, 47,681 to be exact. That's an 8%, 8.3% increase compared to the first 9 months of 24. So fairly healthy, right? Fairly healthy amount of activity, especially before we move into this thing called seasonality. And what I love about this one, on this particular report, right underneath the kind of stats and the bar graphs that I just read from, it gives us, it goes back to January of 2004, and it shows us what listing activity looks like. This looks like a little bit like an EKG. In terms of like how this thing is kind of plotted out here. But man, you can really, when you look at it this way, you can always see where our seasonality lies in terms of where those new listings, you know, what our lows are. And it looks like probably over here around, that makes sense, probably around 2011 going into 2012, probably around 2,400 units. Looks like our maybe historically low ever is that period of time. You can see across the board here, our peaks and our lows. Again, going back to 2004. Pending sales, yeah, we're still writing deals. We're up 13% September of this year, pendings compared to September of last year, with 3,731 units going under contract. 4,993 new listings coming on the market, 3,731 going under contract. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that all 3,731 that went under contract are part of the new inventory that hit the market in September. However, I would say a big chunk of the ones that did hit the market in September are probably the ones that went pending in the same month. And then, of course, year to date, we can see 34,601 units we have pending through 9 months of this year. That's up 4% compared to last year. Last year was actually down compared to 23. In 2023, it was down almost 12% the amount of pendings in the first 9 months of the year compared to 22. So we're seeing gains. We're seeing gains in listing activity. We're seeing gains in the amount of properties that we're putting under pending. So here's the thing, guys. If year to date, we're up 8% in pendings. We're up 4.2%. I'm sorry. We're up 8% in new listings. We're up 4% in pendings. How are we doing on the close side? Close side, we're up 3.6. There's a little bit of a gap in here between the pendings and the close because we know that we are seeing a little bit of an increase in kind of canceled contracts and pendings that fall out and things like that. It's just something we'll keep an eye on. It's enough there to watch. I don't think we necessarily need to worry about it significantly yet. If we see it start to become a problem, then there's things that we can do to start talking to you guys about, you know, strategies, training, things like that that we can bring in just simply to try to alleviate the cancellations of contracts. All right, but again, we're up 3.6% in closed sales, 33,100 units closed year to date. The month of September, we were actually at 9.4%. We closed almost 3,700, 3,689. And again, that was after the September year before was down compared to September of 23. September of 23 was down 20% compared to 22. So far, we're getting them listed. We're getting them under contract. We're getting them closed. And again, we can see here kind of that line graph, that EKG looking thing, kind of shows us how we're doing in these categories as well. All right, list to close. Total number of days Now, here's the thing, don't forget, this is gonna be a wider area around Charlotte. Year to date, our list of closed days up 10% to almost 94. The month of September, it hit 100 days. That was up 15% compared to 2024. 2024, first 9 months of the year was 87 days. We're now up to 100 days in the month of September. We're up year to date 94 days. And you can see it over here too. January of this year, actually, we hit 105. February, we hit 101. March, 99. And then as the season gets busier, the market gets busier, we tend to see that average days on market kind of decline and the list of closed days. And then as the market slows, it of course starts ticking back up again. As always, here's another way to go back and look, going back to January of 24 on this one. Days on market till sale. This is the one that I really pay the most attention to. Days on market till sale, because this is the one that basically is where your contract is. So first 9 months of this year, we're up 32%. It's taking 49 days compared to 37. First 9 months last year. Month of September, average was 53. September of last year, 39. September of 23, it was 29. So we've seen these steady increases in how long it's taking to get a property not only under contract, but then turn around and also get that property closed. Okay. Cumulative days on market. I really don't pay attention to this one as much, just for clarity on this. This is property comes off the market, say it expired or withdrawn, but then goes back on and it's been off for fewer than 90 days. The meter is still running on the original days from the prior listing. So there's a reason why we went to cumulative days years ago. Don't need to get into it right now. I don't pay a ton of attention to this, to be honest. I'm more interested in this one up here, days on market until sale. All right. Average list price. List price average is up 4.6% year to date. Compared to the first 9 months of last year, we were at 5.1%. So we're seeing a little bit of a slowness in terms of the amount of money sellers are asking. That's what the list price is. It's what the sellers are asking. And of course, it's not what the sellers are getting. What the sellers are getting is known as what? The close price. So let's look at the average sale price. Year to date, we are up 2.7%. We are still in a market in the Charlotte area where we see appreciation happening. It is 2.7% year to date, with our average price sitting now, our average close price sitting at almost $510,000 here in the Charlotte metro area. First 9 months last year, we were up 7.3% at just under 500. And then, of course, in 23, we were up 2.9%. First 9 months with the average price of 462. Even in the month of September, compared to September of last year, we were up 1.3%. Right, so we're still in a appreciating market. Demand is still strong enough where supply is not increasing so much that we're starting to see the decline in what the properties are closing for. Okay. And of course, as always, you can go back, goes back to 2004, and you can see what our appreciation and price trend has been all the way up through September of this year. Our median sales price is up 1.7 at just under 400,000. Percent of original list price received. This we're on a steady decline over the last basically 3 years. 2023, sellers were receiving 97.3%. Last year, 97.1%. So far this year, 96% of original list price received. That's year to date. In September, sellers were getting about 95.1. September of last year, 96. September of 23, it was almost 98. So again, we saw that a little bit earlier with the seasonality play, or what that looks like, takes a little bit longer. Fewer buyer activity, it's not that we don't have buyer activity, just not like it is and going into spring and summer when we are at our busiest time of the year. But again, we could have something like this and provide it to the seller that we're meeting with and say, look, kind of here's what the market's doing. So far this year, sellers have gotten about 96% of what they originally listed their home at. Now, there might be some price reductions that we're going to experience along the way. But as always, guys, what I'm going to look for is not just us having this information and understanding it, but how do we use it? How do we use it in our conversations? So this is great data that just sets expectations with the seller. You've got days on market, you've got close price, you've got original list price received, or percent of original list price received as it relates to the closing. Here's everything kind of laid out in front of them. And as always, yes, we do have a historical look. You can see what the market really looked like. There were periods of time here where we were at about 86, 87, 88% of original list price. Of course, that goes back to the Great Recession. Then the last couple of pages here move into affordability. I'll let you guys just kind of read through this. I don't usually pay a lot of attention. It's not that I don't care about affordability. I can't really control affordability as much because that, of course, is driven by what average income looks like in the area. It does, of course, correlate back to the average price. It does also correlate to the interest rates. I don't control any of that. I need to understand it. I need to, I can have it. Here's kind of the basis of this. A higher number means greater affordability. And for example, an index of 120 means the median household income is at 120% of what is necessary to qualify for the median priced home under prevailing interest rates. We're sitting at 89%. So affordability, while prices are going up, rates have gone down a little bit, but our average home prices are going up. So therefore, we start to see this little bit of a tick downwards in this affordability index. And as always, we can go back and we can constantly see kind of where we were. Look at us here in 2013. There was the index 200. We were pretty affordable in 2013. All right. And then inventory of homes for sale. We have 12,000 units in September. That's up 23% compared to September of last year. Although if you look at it, September of last year, we were at 47.3%. Oh my gosh, I hate that number from 23. 6,666. All right, and there's our graph on that. We do have one more. Months of supply. Sorry, I forgot about that, guys. 3.3 months. September of last year, this time we were at 2.9 months. September of 23, we were at 1.9 months. And as you can see, this breaks it down by month from October of last year. We have gotten as high as 3.5 months in June and July, which is still a seller's market. It's just a more calm, reasonable seller's market. It gives the buyers some opportunity. Buyers would have more choices. Buyers don't necessarily have to run at the speed of light to try to go in and at least get an offer in on a property. It's a little bit more rational. And as always, we can go back here after the Great Recession. We can see what our months of supply look like. And we even had neighborhoods back then where it was 24, 25, 30, 32 months in certain neighborhoods. So yeah, this is just a great historical look kind of at our market. All right. As always, went through a lot of data today. Just a different one. I know a lot of you guys have referenced this before. How many of you guys at least look at this pretty frequently?
I think a lot of us, I'm always waiting for it to come out. I think it's a good, quick reference. It's easy to understand. It's easy to communicate to clients.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. Again, you know, guys, this is a 15 pager. You know, I'm a fan of my 1 pagers. But there's a lot of good quality information here, right, per category. Why not? I mean, use this stuff. Send this out to your database. It keeps everybody up to date. It reminds them you're in real estate. It reminds them and shows them and demonstrates to them that you are an agent who keeps up with the market, what's happening in the market. So this is a value piece. Very important that we get this information out consistently. Anybody else? Any stories that you would want to share about how you have used this for maybe lead conversion? Hey, Dave, I saw your mic go off earlier. Were you going to share something?
Well, I was just gonna not talk about the question you just asked, but just mention that you can get these numbers down from macro to micro level here using the MLS, even to Charlotte, the city of Mecklenburg County, all that good stuff. So once you get that client on board to looking at the market, the general market, then you can zero in a little bit more closely to where you're going to put them or where they're going to choose to live.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, especially like in your case, you just had somebody come in from out of town. I know a lot of times people are like, well, I don't know, I'm thinking about Lake Norman, or I don't know, I'm thinking about, Valentine, or I'm thinking about closer to uptown. All right, well, hold this stuff for those, give them the broad, and then to Dave's point, bring it back in a little bit, more specific for the area they're looking at. And provide the same information, just for a little bit tighter area. Great point. Great point. Guys, was there anything that we talked about today that you have a deeper question on that maybe you're not quite 100% certain of what a particular category that we covered, what it means or how to use it in conversations? New listings, here's the overview here. Pendings, closed sales, list to close. Any of the metrics that they've mentioned. With you guys seeing this and looking at this report and covering what we talked about, how do you feel about the market you get to work in? Is it a good market?
It's better than most markets in America right now. Probably.
Yeah. Thank you, Cecilia. It is. This market is a healthy market. It's a healthy market. We're seeing a little bit of an increase in inventory. Again, if we go back and we look at the amount of new properties coming on the market compared to the amount of properties we put under contract or the amount of properties we close. Guys, there were periods of time we could go back and look at 3, 4, to maybe, probably almost 5 years ago. We could find months where we were pending or closing almost the same amount of units we were bringing on the market. So inventory was not increasing. Supply and demand were almost equal. That's a heated market. We have enough healthy demand in our market right now that's causing us to see an increase in that average sale price. Again, is it taking a little bit longer? Yes. List to close price, or the ratio there, the percentage, is declining a little bit. Well, that's because sometimes sellers are going to be unrealistic about the price that they're asking. Right? They're going to start at something higher because maybe they're not seeing this type of information. Maybe we haven't fully explained how the market's performing. And they think it's similar to what it was 3, 4, 5 years ago. Remember, when we're talking to a prospect, when we're talking to a client, these are not our numbers. These are the market's numbers. It's our job to interpret the market. When we can interpret the market, we can explain the market, we can show how the market is performing. That's about setting expectation. That's about bringing reality into the conversation. Here's why you might not want to list your house at 100,000 over what the neighborhood average sale price has been. Here's why, right? It take you longer. You might have multiple price reductions. Ultimately, you're going to get a lower price than what you started at. Where if we started it here, it's going to take fewer days to get a higher price. You'll net more money, so on and so forth, right? And we've got all the information right here to show that. All right, final thoughts, comments, questions, or ahas? All right, gang, I appreciate you all being on. Happy Monday. As always, anything I can do, please let me know. We're here to help, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Take care.
Thanks, Chip.
Appreciate it.